Hi, my name is Dave Webster here at the University of Gloucester. I'm in the Academic Development Unit and I'm joined today by my colleague Polly Pick. Polly, what's your kind of role here at the university?
I'm Director of Business Engagement for the university.
Lovely, and I think what we're going to chat about this morning is about change and planning for change. So you've got some experience of that, obviously, that's what I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
So when you start thinking about planning for change in areas you're working with, what kind of things do you do initially? What kind of your first thoughts and concerns?
So initially, I think you need to understand why you've got to make the change, and you need to understand the factors that are pushing you towards that. If it's something quite positive, if you can build a bit of a vision for people to get behind, I think that's really helpful. Not all changes are positive. Not all changes come from a positive place. And in those instances, I think if you can make sure you've got clear information and you communicate that as much as you can to people, as honestly as you can, with as much clarity as possible, I think that's the best you can do as a manager at that point.
So coming out of those kind of comments there, it really seems clear, to me at least, to listen to you, that you need to get some level of trust, even if it's very difficult from people, that you're being as open with them, as honest with them as you're able to be in that position.
Yes, I think that's really important, and that's what people expect from their manager.
Taking that on board, then when you start to kind of get into the process of change, taking people through whatever change, whether that's kind of positive expansion type change or something more challenging, once that gets starting, you've hopefully got at least to some extent some sense of trust and things.
Yes.
What kind of things do you find useful as you're getting started with that?
As you're going through the process. I think initially people have lots of questions and lots of queries, and even if you're in a relatively senior position, you don't necessarily have all those answers for people. I think you need to work closely with people in HR. You need to understand what you can tell people and when you can tell them things. I think that helps. There was a management model that I sort of referred to quite a bit, which is, it's from Adair, and it talks, it's very simple, it's very basic. It talks about thinking about 3 different things when you're working with people, which is the task that you're trying to achieve, the team that you're trying to lead and how all of that works together, but also the individuals and what they need and what their concerns are. And I think that's quite an easy thing to remember and to work with. So I tend to think about that, really.
And I guess part of that really is very much, just think about the latter of those, about kind of thinking about the people, finding ways as a manager, I guess, to keep in mind that the people involved in it are all people, and therefore they will have a variety of quite diverse sets of concerns, but they remain as individuals with valid concerns rather than just numbers on a spreadsheet or obstacles or problems for you, the manager. That's quite hard. Absolutely,
and I think people, a lot of issues come out of people not understanding things, having a different perception of the way things are, or maybe having fears and doubts about what's going to happen and what's coming. So I think what you have to do is to make sure that you have the right information, that you're helping people to understand the situation that the organisation's in, but also that you've got something positive, that you're moving forward, that you're concentrating on the progress that people have made, and thanking them really for their continued engagement and support.
So it sounds partly that not only is trust an issue that you need to kind of work with, but also kind of availability and clarity.
Yes.
The last thing you were saying about kind of process, a sense of momentum, so that even if the changes are not always benign or positive, people feel they'll be able, at least if not immediately, to get some sense of certainty, because that kind of uncertainty and not knowing is what often can really, people find most stressful and troubling.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's the uncertainty, it's the fogginess, and people will fill that vacuum with some doubts and anxiety. So I think you need to be available as a manager, you need to be accessible, people need to be able to talk to you. but again, you don't necessarily have all the answers. And I think one of the things that can be quite difficult is you can't always anticipate how people are going to react to things, and not to take that personally, and to use your colleagues in HR and also other managers that are sort of within your peer group, to just sort of understand that it's not just you and it's not necessarily a personal thing.
But I think that you put it right about that availability thing, is that even if you can't answer people's questions, I think there's something very kind of open and human about just saying, and formally stating, I'm going to be here all this morning, the day after something's announced, or making that availability. Even people don't always take you up on it. I think it demonstrates that you might not be able to solve people's concerns, but you actually want to hear them, and you're willing to devote what is a fraction of your time, your resource, to actually paying attention to them and treating them individually. I think that probably goes quite a long way.
Absolutely, I think that's really true, because you don't always understand the perspective that somebody else is bringing to that, and I think it's really important to hear the concerns that people have got and to be open to them. And you can't respond to things that you don't know about, so you have to be able to listen and be accessible.
And that kind of brings me, I guess, my kind of closing question, but it can be quite an open one, which is, having been quite experienced in taking teams and people through change and seeing changes that kind of are really upbeat and positive, where you've got to still got channels and kind of creative structure into it, and change is quite hard, quite challenging, difficult. Coming out of that, do you think, as a result of that and trying and sometimes succeeding and sometimes being less successful than you aspire to be, as we all are, but what you kind of would say you've learned, what are the kind of headlines of things that you think, this is what I really learned from this?
Expect the unexpected, I think. There are always unintended consequences to things that you will have to deal with. It's never just a done deal. And I think you need to kind of embed that change. So once you've been through the process, you need to help your team move forward. And I think one way you can do that is to have some team events or to celebrate some successes. And when you can see progress and you can see something improving or getting better, the light at the end of the tunnel, to really make sure that we recognise that and we celebrate that, because that helps you move through to the next stage.
Thank you, that's really useful, and I think that, at least for me, and I'm sure people watching, gives a much greater sense of how you can lead people through both positive and problematic change, while trying to keep in mind what they need from it as well as what the process needs as well. Thanks very much, Paul.
Okay, pleasure, thank you.